Having a great mix often demands hours, if not up to a couple of days of work. And in order to preserve those hours or days of work, you need to be strategic about mastering your mix. Today I'm going to share with you one of the techniques you should use before sending a mix for mastering, and that is using reference tracks. But before we do that, if you want to improve your mixes and masters in less than 10 minutes, go ahead and download your cheat sheet here. It takes only a couple of minutes. While you do that, I'll play some fabulous intro. Before sending your mix for mastering, the first thing you want to do is having a clear goal in mind, and that is how you would like your final master to sound like. If you have been strategic about it, you already know this and have some reference tracks ready or that you may have used during the mixing process. So, listening to reference mixes not only helps you during the mixing stage of your project, but it also will give a good idea to your mastering engineer, in case you have one, about the direction you want your project to take. But how can a reference track help you? Most of my students, but also audio producers in general, don't have rooms specifically designed for mixing or mastering. And by the way, this is also my case, because at the moment I'm mixing and mastering in a very small room with lots of acoustic problems. To solve these issues, however, or at least the biggest ones, I invested in my Genelec monitoring system, which comes with its own calibration kit. But does this solve the issue of the room I'm working in? The short answer is no, absolutely not. However, this system helps me a lot in achieving great results, even if I have to work in this problematic room by means of calibrating the monitoring system specifically to this room. That means, in other words, if my room has lots of low-end response, which it actually does, the calibration kit from Genelec will take out some of that low end, which will result in a more linear response of my monitors, so that I could take mixing or mastering decisions based on what I'm actually hearing and not on what I suppose to be hearing. Okay, but does it mean you need such a system for great mixes or masters? I would say that if you have a mixing or mastering business and you want to mix or master faster, the addition of such a monitoring system, in my honest opinion, is one of the best investments that you could treat yourself and your business with. And if you're interested in finding more about my monitoring system, check out my review of this Genelecs. It is worth mentioning, however, that there are audio engineers who achieve great mixes and some claim achieving great masters only by using headphones. So I guess the rule which I followed for more than 20 years in the audio production business is still valid. The rule I'm talking about is do whatever you can, wherever you are, with what you have. But let's actually get back to the strategy that I want to discuss with you today. As I said, one of the strategies you should use to achieve better mixes and masters is the use of reference tracks. Reference tracks are nothing more than tracks that you really like how they sound, and you can use them as reference so that you could make your own production, or the one from your clients, to sound alike. When you use a reference track, you use it, well, you've guessed it, as a reference. If you're mixing or mastering by using a reference track, you compare your project with that reference track, and you start listening and comparing. In case your mix has more lows than your reference track, you might take care about the low end or the mids and so on. Another scenario could be the vocals being too loud in your mix compared with your reference tracks, so in the scenario you bring them down. You get it. A reference track should be used as a guide, but not a definite one. You still need to add some of your awesomeness to your project. Plus, no two mixes or masters are exactly alike. So to conclude this important strategy, before sending your mix to your mastering engineer, compare your mix with some of your favorite songs. But, and this is important, before you do that, there's a catch, which brings me to strategy number 2, or maybe strategy number 1.5, because it is a completion of the first one. Let me explain. A lot of people tell you exactly how I have done just now, to use songs of your favorite artist or the ones that you like how they sound as reference when mixing or mastering. But I discovered in time, after lots of mixing and mastering projects, that you should take into consideration one important aspect. Generally, when you put the limiter of your choice in case you're mastering your stuff, or when a mastering engineer uses his or her favorite limiter, the balance of your mix slightly changes. This is why I'm recommending you to use the mixed version of reference tracks when mixing and their mastered version when mastering. Why? Because limiting your mix could mean more than one thing. Your mix could have more low end, or maybe the highs could cut your eardrums. There could also be some lag in the mids and so on. There are tons of scenarios, but one of the most frequent one I encounter in the projects I receive is the kick being too loud. You see, often when we mix, we like to make our mixes punchy, and if you have problems in your room, you may crank that kick track until you feel that it sits just right, and that's totally okay. But keep in mind that at the mixing stage, if you have taken care about the gain staging, you still have plenty of headroom that you could work with. The problems I have just mentioned, however, may occur at the mastering stage, especially after limiting. This is the exact moment when you might realize that the kick actually eats a lot of the available headroom. It is too loud and you start complaining that your track needs more loudness while things are distorting already. Well, my friends, at the mastering stage as when mixing, you still need to make some compromises. I talk about this more in my Pro Audio Mastering program, so if you're interested in audio mastering and want to learn everything you need to know about it, go check it out. And in case you want a discount on it, just look in the description below. You'll thank me later. So hopefully up until now I gave you enough context about why you should use the strategy I'm trying to share with you in this video. To recap, the strategy is the following. When you are using reference tracks, use their mixed version, meaning the unmastered version if possible, because this of course is a bit, if not a lot harder to find. But if you don't find reference mixes, use their mastered version. In this case, however, use a limiter on your mix. You don't have to master it. You just need to gain some loudness until your mix achieves about -14, -12 laughs. Then match the reference track level also at about -14 laughs, and only then you may start judging your track by comparing it with your reference mastered track. So this is one of the strategies I recommend you to use starting with your next mix. And when you do that, you start listening and analyzing. While you do that, ask yourself, what is too much? What needs more presence, and so on. Then go inside the mix and make the necessary adjustments. And I hear your question, why do I recommend bringing the loudness of your mix at about -14, -12 laughs and not higher? Well, if you never mastered a song, -14, -12 laughs is a good range where limiters usually are not put to work hard. Still, you can get a pretty good idea of what you expect from the mastered version of your mix. That being said, you can try limiting your mix some more in order to have a better idea of how your master might sound in case you need more loudness. But heads up, mastering audio doesn't mean only putting a limiter on your mastering bus. People say mastering is really hard to learn. You need to have golden ears and be a unicorn, plus you need expensive plugins, cables and atomic clocks. So don't you dare to master music, let the chosen ones. This involves a different mindset and strategies, which I'm talking about in detail in my Pro Audio Mastering program. So hopefully this strategy will help you in improving your mixes and masters by using reference tracks as guides. If you have other ways of using reference tracks, please share them with me in the comments below. Subscribe, because this will help me in making more videos like this so that I could help as many audio producers as possible. Until next time, stay cool and make great music.